Just the other day, trying to get to a doctor's appointment, I was like, man, AI is already everywhere. Like, just figuring out how to avoid traffic.
Yeah.
But today, we're going way deeper than navigation apps. We're diving into, well, it's called the AI Revelation podcast. It's from 2025. So, yeah, it's like a message from the future, kind of, about the future of work.
Yeah, it brings up a ton of questions, like how different will work be in just a couple of years thanks to all this AI stuff?
Exactly. So get ready, because we're going to unpack AI agents, like whole industries changing, even something called GPT-5. We'll try to keep it clear,
Mhm.
hopefully more, interesting than scary.
Absolutely. I mean, the future always surprises us, but at least if we see the trends coming, we can kind of get ready, right?
Okay, so first up, these AI agents. The AI Revelation talks about how big a deal it was when Satya Nadella, the Microsoft CEO, announced them back in 23. But what are they really?
Okay, imagine this. You've got a digital coworker, not just someone who schedules stuff, but someone who can analyze huge amounts of data, write reports, even do basic coding. These agents aren't just helpers. They're built to tackle complicated things that honestly bore most of us.
So like AI employees who are experts at certain things.
You got it. And Nadella was all about them being collaborators, like helping us humans do more.
Sounds pretty ideal, actually. But I mean, the podcast hints that it's not all sunshine and roses, right? This job displacement thing.
Right, and that's where it gets tricky. Nadella's vision was all about teamwork, but looking back from 2025, the AI revelation is like, well, yeah, jobs did get lost.
So we're talking AI taking over entire types of jobs. That's huge EE, and the podcast doesn't hold back on the stats either, does it?
Nope. Up to 100 million jobs globally gone by 2025 because of AI. And if that keeps going, we're looking at potentially 4 billion jobs affected.
4 billion.
Yeah,
I can't even. That's nearly half left the world's workers.
it is. And this isn't sci-fi, right? It's happening because AI is getting so good at jobs that used to be done by people. Like, think data entry, dot factory stuff, even some customer service, you know.
So robots taking over, basically.
It's more nuanced than that. It's AI being super efficient at tasks that are like rule-based, repetitive, the jobs that need us to be creative, think critically, solve complex problems, or, be human and understand emotions. Those are harder to automate, at least for now.
Which brings up a huge question. If AI is doing all the routine stuff,
Mm-hmm.
what skills do WE need to actually do well?
$1 million question, right. And the podcast spends a lot of time on it. It's less about specific tech skills, more about being adaptable, learning new things fast, and being okay with change.
Right. It's not just like learning new software. It's changing how we think about work and learning.
Exactly. And all this is happening while we're in the middle of, get this, the fourth industrial revolution. Sounds like a movie title, but it's a pretty good description of what's going on tech-wise.
Okay, I got to admit, fourth industrial revolution. Kind of intimidating. Break it down for me.
Think of it like the lines are blurring between digital stuff, physical stuff, and even biology. It's not just robots and AI. It's 3D printing, gene editing, all these things kind of merging together and reshaping everything.
Gotcha. But I need examples.
Yeah.
I'm a show me kind of person.
Okay, those robots Boston Dynamics makes, the humanoid ones, you've seen them doing backflips online, right? They're so agile, and they can handle crazy environments, even learn new stuff.
Those things are impressive.
Yeah.
But how does the podcast connect those robots to, like, the fourth industrial revolution and the future of work?
Well, it gets pretty intense. It says robotics could potentially handle up to 98% of the work humans do.
98%. That's all I found. So we're all just going to sit around and watch robots and, like, make our coffee and stuff.
No, it's not that simple. That's what makes this so interesting. If that prediction is true, what does it even mean to work? What's the point of humans then? Those are the questions we got to figure out as all this unfolds.
Whoa. It's a lot to think about. And just when you think it can't get weirder, we got to talk about GPT-5.
Yes, GPT-5. Now that's when things get really interesting.
Lay it on me. What is this GPT-5 and why is it such a big deal?
Think of AI so advanced that it can write music, poetry, even code complex software, and it's all as good as what human experts do. The AI revelation is like, yeah, GPT-5 changes everything. It's when AI gets abilities that we thought only humans had.
So it's not just AI doing taxes or whatever. It's AI writing symphonies and novels. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And honestly, a bit scary.
It is, and the podcast is all about both sides. The huge EE potential, but also the risks that come with that much power.
Okay, I'm hooked. What are some of the good things GPT-5 could do?
Think about education. Personalized learning, AI tutors who adapt to how you learn, giving you feedback instantly. Or customer service that's so smooth you don't even realize you're talking to a machine.
I'm starting to see it.
Yeah.
But that much power, there's got to be a catch, right?
Yeah.
What are the downsides?
Yep, the podcast gets into that too. It could be used to make fake news that's super convincing. It could make existing biases worse. These are serious risks to think about.
Feels like we're walking a tightrope here. All this potential, but also real danger.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we got to talk about it, NOW, before this stuff is everywhere and we lose control of how it's made and used.
So much to unpack. We've only scratched the surface of this AI thing, and I'm both excited and, like, low-key terrified about what's coming.
I get it, it's a lot. But remember, knowing stuff is power. If we understand what AI could do, the good and the bad, that's the first step to making a future where tech helps us, not the other way around.
Good point. So where do we go from here? What can we do to get ready for this AI future?
That's what we'll dig into in the next part of this deep dive. But the AI revelation has some ideas, and it all comes down to one thing: adapting.
All right, let's get into those solutions then. Job losses, superpowered AI agents, GPT-5 doing crazy stuff. It's a lot, but hopefully this podcast gives us some practical advice, how to actually deal with all this change.
It does. And the good news is it's not all doom and gloom. This podcast is all about not just surviving the AI revolution, but like thriving in it.
So it's not about fighting it, but more like figuring out how to work with it.
Exactly. And the key to that, according to the AI revelation, is a total shift in how we think about education, AD work.
Okay, I'm listening. Let's start with education.
Yeah.
What needs to change?
Well, think about it. We're prepping kids for jobs that might not even exist in a few years, right? The
Yep.
podcast is like, we need to stop just memorizing stuff and start teaching the skills AI can't do.
So less about facts and dates, more about critical thinking, being creative, solving problems, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about teaching people how to learn, unlearn stuff, and relearn throughout their lives. Because when tech is changing this fast, adapting is what's going to matter most.
Makes sense. But what about people who are already working? Like, what if your job is about to be automated? How do you stay ahead of that?
The podcast really hammers on this. Upskilling and reskilling. We got to give people chances to learn new skills so they can move into jobs that aren't going to be taken by robots, basically.
So how do we do that? Is it government programs, companies training their employees? What's it actually look like?
It's going to take everyone working together. Government's got to fund education and training. Companies got to help their workers develop and switch careers. And people themselves have got to be proactive, look for chances to learn and grow.
Sounds like a huge challenge. But I guess the alternative is worse, right? Like mass unemployment, people freaking out.
Yeah, not a good scenario. The podcast also talks about a solution that's kind of controversial, but it's coming up more and more. Universal Basic Income, or UBI.
Oh, yeah, UBI. Giving everyone a guaranteed income, whether they work or not. I know people have strong opinions about that one.
For sure. But with AI potentially taking so many jobs, UBI is being seriously considered. Like how to make sure everyone can at least afford the basics.
It's a conversation we need to have.
Yeah.
But shifting gears a bit, you said earlier that the AI revolution isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. What does that actually look like? Like, how do you thrive in a world run by AI?
It's about using AI to make our lives better, not just have it take our jobs. It's about AI handling the boring stuff so we can focus on what makes us human, you know?
So less about robots stealing jobs, more about robots doing dishes while we're off, like pursuing our hobbies and stuff.
Exactly. What if all the admin tasks, the data crunching, the scheduling, what if AI did all that? Think of the free time.
I'm liking this idea more and more. We can focus on being creative, spend more time with people we care about, volunteer, so many possibilities.
Right. That's what's exciting. AI could be scary, yeah.
Yeah.
But it also gives us a chance to completely rethink what work and free time even mean.
It's like AI is making us ask these big questions about, like, what does it mean to be human? What matters to us? How do we want to spend our lives?
You got... And how we answer those questions will determine what our future looks like.
So it's not just about adapting to AI. It's about deciding what role we want it to play in our lives.
We have a choice here. Let tech control everything, or use it to build a future that works for everyone.
This is getting me fired up. But back to the podcast. Did it give any specific examples of how we can use AI for good?
It did. One that really stuck out was healthcare. Imagine AI that can analyze tons of medical data, so it can personalize treatments, predict outbreaks, even discover new cures. That's the kind of future we could have if we use AI the right way.
That's incredible. AI changing not just how we work, but how we live, learn, even how we get healthy. But let's be real, not everyone's going to be happy about this AI future. Some people are going to be scared, resist it, maybe even reject it entirely. How do we deal with that?
Good point. The podcast says we to have open and honest conversations about AI. We got to educate people, debunk the myths, address their fears head on, because usually we're afraid of what we don't understand, right? The more we know about AI, the less scary it becomes.
True, but there's also got to be transparency and accountability.
Yeah.
We need to make sure AI is developed ethically, that it's not used for bad stuff, and that people's privacy is protected.
Absolutely. That's where collaboration comes in. We need the government, researchers, tech companies, even regular people all working together to figure out how to develop AI responsibly.
Wow, this isn't just about tech changing, it's about society changing, how we think, how we educate people, even our social safety net. It's huge EE.
It is. And it won't be easy. But T, the podcast makes a good point. The potential is enormous. They paint a picture of a future where AI helps us do amazing things, solve big problems, be more creative, live better lives.
I like that vision. But is it realistic? Or are we going to be disappointed?
That depends entirely on us. The future isn't set in stone, it's what we make it. If we approach AI thoughtfully, work together, and never forget what's important to us as humans, then yeah, I think we can build a future where AI and people don't just coexist, but actually thrive together.
I'm feeling a lot more optimistic now. But before we wrap up, you said earlier that the AI Revelation podcast ends with a thought-provoking question. What is it?
Here it is. If machines can do almost everything, what will humans do? What will give our lives meaning and purpose?
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And it's something we all need to think about as we move into this AI-powered future.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we'll explore in the final part of this deep dive. That question about what will you do when machines can do almost everything, it really makes you think, huh?
It does. It's kind of exciting, kind of scary to think that maybe work won't be the main thing in our lives anymore.
Yeah.
So what does the podcast say? How do we find purpose if AI is doing so much?
Well, it says we need to change how we even think about work. Like, what if work wasn't about earning money, but about, following your passions, helping your community, being creative?
So instead of dreading Mondays, we'd be excited to, like, DO stuff we actually love.
Exactly. Imagine if AI did all the boring tasks, data entry, scheduling, all that. We'd have so much time to focus on things that actually matter to us.
I'm starting to see the appeal here. But that's a huge change, right? Our whole world is built around work. How do we even start to shift to something totally different?
The podcast says universal basic income could be a big part of that. UBI. If everyone had a basic income, whether they work or not, it would give people the freedom to try new things, start businesses, or just contribute in ways that feel meaningful.
It's an interesting concept, but I know UBI is controversial. Did the podcast talk about any potential problems with it?
Oh, yeah, they get into that. Like, how do you pay for it? Will it cause inflation? Will people even want to work if they don't have to? And, what about people who might abuse the system?
Sounds complicated.
It is. But the podcast argues that as AI changes the workforce, we need to be open to big ideas like UBI, even if they challenge how we think about work and, taking care of each other.
I think we also need to talk about the ethics of all this.
Mm-hmm.
If AI gets more powerful, we have to make sure it's used for good,
Mm-hmm.
and that it doesn't make existing problems worse.
For sure. The AI Revelation spends a lot of time on that. They talk about the importance of being transparent about how AI is made, making sure the algorithms are fair, and protecting people's privacy as we rely more and more on data.
It sounds like a ton of work.
Good.
Not just with the technology, but also figuring out the social, political, and ethical stuff. Daunting,
Yeah.
but kind of exciting too, right?
It is. But if we go into this AI revolution focused on making life better for people,
Yeah.
and if we work together, I think we can create a future where AI helps us live richer, more meaningful lives.
So it's not about being afraid of AI or trying to stop it. It's about making sure it works for us.
Exactly. And that's where you, our listeners, come in. The choices we make, the conversations we have, the actions we take, all of that will determine what this future looks like.
It's a good reminder that the future isn't just happening to us.
Yeah.
We're building it.
Right. And the AI revelation ends with a call to action. Get involved in these conversations. Explore the possibilities, challenge your own assumptions, and help create a future where AI makes our lives better and helps us reach our full potential.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the AI revelation, what's the one thing you want listeners to remember?
That the future isn't set in stone. It's a blank canvas. And we all have the power to decide what we paint on it.
Well said. So to everyone listening, be curious, ask questions, and let's talk about the future of AI and how it's going to change our world, because the future is ours to create together.